Well, good morning. We've got a small but mighty group today, and I am always fine with that. And so, welcome to the kickoff session of what we are calling Power Hours. And my passion and my heart to do this. This is my way and my business of giving back to the community. So we make these at no charge or cost to people. And we've had as many as 50 people, and we've had as few as 4, which is today. So I'm just glad you're here. We might have a couple other people join us, but the title for today's session is Making 2022 Productive, Enjoyable, and Memorable. And if that's what you're interested in, that's what we're going to do. I want to give my thanks to the Portsmouth Chamber of Commerce, the Ashland Alliance, and the Maysville Chamber for sponsoring these. They promote these and send notifications out, and it's just a joy to be connected with them as they reach their communities and provide this as kind of an added benefit and a perk for being a chamber member. So we're glad to partner with them in that way. So I want to get started here with our first lesson. And the first lesson is, who am I? Most of you know me, but I'll remind you, I've been married for 37 years and very happy marriage, and I'm very thankful for that. I have 3 grown sons. They're doing well, and I'm thankful for that. I'm the granddaddy of all granddaddies, and I'm mostly thankful for that. That's a lot of fun. I'm a business executive life coach, and have been doing that for over 19 years. And I really am thankful for that. It is such a joy to do what you love, and I get to do that every day. I'm a biblical counselor. That's kind of what I do in my other time, and work with people and personal issues coming from a biblical Christian perspective, and have been doing that longer than I've actually been doing coaching, about 22 years. And I love doing that. We're getting ready to do some trainings here starting in January, and also train other pastors and people in that. So that's a joy. And I have a passion to help people. And that's what I want to do this morning. So if you will just put on your seatbelts and get ready for just an amazing hour, the amazement is going to happen within you, because I believe each one of you that are just listening today is an amazing person. And I think we all are, and we don't really realize it. We get so busy and so caught up and so just working hard, and just life itself is just so demanding at times. We forget our human potential. And when you look at 2022, I want to help you move forward into a larger potential this year with some of these principles. I wouldn't worry too much about taking a number of notes today. I would just jump in here if it were me and just enjoy the session, and maybe jot something down if it comes to mind, but really stay present with the lesson and be curious. In fact, let's talk about the rules of the game. These are rules that I call them life rules, but we're going to use them for our session rules today. If you want to make this the absolute best it can be for you, you need to own it. What do I mean by owning it? We're going to talk a little bit more about an owner mentality, because I think that's at the foundation of any great success. We're not going to pass it off. We're not going to ignore it. We're not going to deny it. We're not going to minimize it. We're going to grab hold of it and embrace it and make the most of it. We're going to own it versus just saying, what can I do? We're going to say, here's what I'm going to do. Second, to have a great session, to have a great life, you participate. How much? 100%. What you put in is what you get out. If you're going to go for it, you might as well go for it. And a choice to own it and to go for it 100% is the rule of the game. If you're going to coach with me, this is what I require. You got to own it. You got to participate. And you get to drop your I know. Lots of the folks I deal with are very successful. They know a lot, and their knowledge has taken them to a level of success. The problem is that same knowledge has prevented them from going to a higher level of success. Knowledge can be a good thing. It can be a hindering thing. Your pride and your ego and your belief about the fact that you pretty much know it all in any particular situation means in that situation, you're not going to learn anything. So come into this situation today, dropping the I know. That's our agreement. Come in today being curious like a little child. Come in today saying, isn't this interesting? I never thought of it that way before. Come in with a low level of criticism and a high level of curiosity. Low level of criticism, high level of curiosity. That will maximize your experience this morning. Realize this, and we all know this, you can leave today and not have to do a thing based on today. So there's no pressure here. There's no fear here. But you might leave here today transformed with a brand new way of doing something, a brand new way of looking at something, a fresh way, a validation. But that happens when you get rid of the I know. You get rid of that preconceived belief that I already have this pretty much figured out. Because truthfully, we don't know much at all. Even though we might know quite a bit, based on what there is to be known, we know very little. So that's really just a statement of honesty. I don't really know. And what I do know is very small. And then finally, we got to have some fun. I think it was Fran Tarkington that said, if you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong. I have found in the coaching and helping different organizations and different individuals that when we are not having fun doing it, when it's not almost like a game and we're enjoying it, we're off track. Doesn't mean things aren't difficult. Doesn't mean that things don't cause some discomfort and even some pain. But frankly, you can enjoy your discomfort and pain if you've got a purpose. You got a place you're going, and we'll see that later today. So let me give you a recap of the rules and just kind of get your buy-in. What you're saying by staying with it today is this. You're going to own it. You're going to be an owner. Number two, you're going to fully 100% participate. Number three, you're going to get rid of your knowledge. You're going to at least set it aside and be curious, interested, and open-minded. And finally, we're just going to have a good time. And that's the choice we're all going to make. All right. If you've checked the boxes and you're in, you got your ticket. Now let's get on the roller coaster. Buckle up. Here we go. I want to talk about the power of distinctions. Anybody that's been around me knows that I love distinctions because distinctions are powerful. Why are they powerful? Because that's how our biocomputer, our brain is wired. So I want to demonstrate how we get distinctions. A distinction is just something you get. So I'm going to give you some distinctions and you're going to fill in the blank. If I had you in a room together, we'd be shouting these out together, but we'll just have to enjoy this virtual environment and kind of do it ourselves. Black versus white. That's a distinction. I don't have to explain it to you. You get the difference. Day versus night. Up versus down. Fast versus slow. Life versus death. Think about this. This is what I want you all to grasp right now, is our mind, the way we process information and things that are going on, we think in dualities, we think in distinctions. And once you get a distinction, you have a distinction. And if you get a distinction, you have that and you've captured that and you own it and it makes sense to you. And all of us get these distinctions, black versus white, because as soon as I say it, you know the opposite. Positive versus negative. There's a real basic distinction. What's the opposite of positive? It's negative. Left versus right. I hope you get it. Distinctions are powerful because they're simple. Less is more. East versus west. And now I'm going to give you a distinction, and you may or may not know the distinction right now. Owner versus victim. Now, when that distinction becomes as clear and as understood in your mind and heart as those others, you'll have it. And I want to help you get there, because if you want your 2022 to be amazing and move you forward and move things forward, that's a distinction that I think is foundational, cornerstone, and essential, that you really grasp and understand the difference between an owner and a victim, just like you understand black versus white, day versus night, up versus down, fast versus slow, life versus death, positive versus negative, left versus right, east versus west, and owner versus victim. I just want it to be at that level. And you have to think, and you have to process, and you have to program this beautiful biocomputer we have to get that. So this is a key distinction to having a great 2022. The owner versus the victim. Now, I'm a coach, so I love questions. And here's my question for you. Which are you? Are you an owner, or are you a victim? I hope you answered yes, because we are all both. If we understand the distinction, we want to be an owner. We realize that's where good things happen. That's where things move forward. That's where things get done. That's where I feel good. Typically, that's where I perform best, is when I'm owning it. But as a human, I'm sometimes thinking like a victim. So to get this, here's an important point. I want you to miss this. I don't want you to miss this. To get this distinction, you just have to know the difference. You have to recognize the difference, not necessarily just in other people, but in yourself. When am I thinking like an owner, and when am I thinking like a victim? Because if I want my 2022 to be prosperous, amazing, get things done, enjoyable, profitable, productive, it's going to be when I'm an owner. And so I need to recognize when I'm an owner and when I'm not. And when you're not an owner, you're a victim. How do we recognize something that's kind of esoteric like that? Well, for the human being, how we see our hearts, how we see our souls, how we see who we are, it actually comes out in what we say. So I want to look at some owner-victim language. Our mindset is the key that unlocks positive personal change. And it's expressed in the words that we use. Notice I took the word words and put green and red letters on there, because our words are mixed. Sometimes we're using owner words, sometimes we're using victim words. Now, certainly there's some power in changing our words, but really the words are more of a mirror. The words are more of a reflection. Jesus in the Bible said, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So our words express what's inside. Kind of the fruit of our lips is from the root of our heart. And so if we can listen to these words, we can understand that distinction of whether I'm currently in an owner mindset or a victim mindset. So here goes. Owners take ownership, victims are blaming. When you're blaming somebody else for what messed up, you're not going to have a great 2022. Blame is, I can't do anything about it. They caused it. They're doing it to me. They're doing it to me. I have no control over this. I can do nothing about this. It's their fault. And sometimes blame is legitimate in terms of we point to somebody did something they shouldn't have done, and they did do that. So we're not lying. It's not necessarily false, but it's not helpful. It doesn't get anything done. Attacking yourself and attacking other people is at best a waste of time, and at worst it's damaging. I would suggest that a 2022 New Year's resolution or habit is, I'm going to quit attacking other people. I'm going to quit attacking myself and quit attacking my other people, because that gets nothing done. The blame mode may be legitimate in terms of it might be honest, but it does not take care of the problem. Somebody asked me the question the other day, what's the difference between being responsible and blaming? I thought if you're accountable and responsible, you blame yourself. I asked the question, can you be accountable and responsible and not blame yourself? You certainly can. Why do we need to blame somebody? Why do we need to put a person down? Why do we need to pin it on them? We don't need to waste our time and our energy tearing somebody down where we have to turn around and then help them get back up. Let's just solve the problem. Let's just remedy the situation without blame. Let's own it. Accountable versus excuses. Blame goes towards people, excuses goes towards the universe and towards my environment. I just blame the situation. I blame my circumstances, and that's called an excuse. Versus being accountable. The word accountability is an interesting word. The root of it is the word count. So measurement is often involved in accountability. Objective measurement. We can talk a good game, we can make stories up, but when you get the ruler out, when you get the scale out, we actually get a number. And the numbers don't lie. They just reflect what's actually there. Accountability is objective. Excuse making and blaming is very subjective. Ownership is very objective. It's a choice. It's a mature thing. It's a prefrontal cortex thing. It's responsibility versus denial. I'm dealing with the issues and owning the issues versus denying them, turning my back on them, ignoring them. Procrastination is a victim mind process, things that I put off, versus responding. Responsible is an interesting word. It's a two-phase word. It's my ability to respond. Here is a question, a 2022 question for you right now. If you are jotting down some things and taking some notes, this would be a great question. What are you currently denying and not responding to? Or what am I currently denying and not responding to? And immediately some things may come to your mind, and I'd make a list of those. This is just between you and your piece of paper and your pen. Just write that down. Here are the things I'm not currently owning that I need to pick up. I need to become accountable for and responsible for. I've been denying them and making excuses and blaming. In other words, if you see the 3 red letters there, I'm staying in bed. I'm not getting up out of bed and owning it, taking up my oar, O-A-R, and rowing my boat. I need to get out of bed and pick up my oar. Do you see it? That is a huge distinction. Folks, if you didn't get anything else today other than that, you got that like you got day and night, left and right, up and down, black and white, owner versus victim. You've got it. You've got a great new year coming. If you just get that concept and respond to the understanding that comes from that concept. Here's some other words. I get to versus I got to. I get to get healthy. I got to get healthy. I get to go to the gym. I got to go to the gym. I get to lose some weight. I've got to lose some weight. I hope you hear the tone of my voice. I get to, owner. I got to, victim. Here's 2 more. I choose to, or I have to. Now, this is going to shake your tree, and this is one you're going to have to really process. You don't have to do anything. I get the most interesting facial expressions for people and responses when I tell them they don't have to do anything. Well, that's not right. I have to go to work. I have to pay my bills. I have to eat. I have to drink water. You don't have to do any of that. There are consequences. There are consequences to things you do and don't do. So if you don't do this, this will happen. There's the sowing and reaping, but you don't have to do anything. A victim feels like they have to do this or that. They are making themselves a prisoner to whatever they have to do. I'm asking you to shift your mind here into an ownership mindset that says, I choose to, because that's really the truth. As human beings, we have the ability to choose. We don't have to. We can choose to go to work. We can choose to stay home. We can choose to be more with our children and with our spouses and with our families, or we can choose to work more. We can choose to work hard, or we can choose to be lazy. But in any sense, that's the truth. That's the ownership. I don't have to work hard. I choose to work hard. Or I choose to take a vacation. I want you to see it, that when I'm in the have to mode, I'm in a victim mode. When I'm in the choose to mode, I'm in the owner seat. I shall versus I should. Oh, should is such a victim word. Fill in this for me. I really should blank. I really should forgive that person. I really should have this conversation. I really should treat myself a little better than I do. All those statements are victim statements because you're not doing what you should do. They're guilt statements. They're statements of being in prison. I really should. You hear the tone? Low energy, should versus I shall. I shall start a morning routine. I shall get up a half hour earlier and get ready for the day. I shall start to floss. I want you to hear it. Are you an owner or are you a victim? I'm going to say you're both, but recognize it. Use this distinction to understand yourself and then move victim to owner. Change your actions, change your words, change your life. And you can do this as a human being. You can own it. You get to do this. Hope that gets it. If you get that lesson today, you'll have an amazing year. If you already have that lesson and you've had it before and you're reminded of it and you're going to walk in it a little more faithfully, it's going to make this day, it's going to make this week, it's going to make this year much better. Hope that helps you. I can versus I can't. That's the one we probably hear most. The little engine that could. I won't go there. We'll go to the next slide. I want you to take the whiteboard in your mind and wipe it off and start over with me here. Brand new lesson, new piece of paper. Destination. There's a line with an arrow. Now, what that line represents is your life. For the purpose of our lesson here, that line represents your life, and your current life has a past. Let's talk about the past for a minute. The past is not real. I didn't say it didn't occur. I'm not in denial of the past, but whatever is of the past right now for you personally is what you remember. And what you remember is not accurate. What you remember is filtered. What you remember is not completely true. It's a bit distorted and it's probably sentimental and it's probably better than it was, or it's probably worse than what it was, but it's not exactly as it was. Have you ever visited your childhood playground or your childhood school, your elementary school? It's amazing how big that stage was when I was a kid, but I go back there and it's really small. I thought that cafeteria or that gymnasium was huge. And I get in there and it's just a little room. I'm thinking, wow, I had that in my memory so differently. Here's the point. Our past is over, and what we remember of it and what we have of it is between our ears, and it's not accurate. I'm not putting the past down. I'm not saying we can't learn from it. I'm just saying it is what it is, and it's not now. What's now is the present. What's now is where you're sitting right now in a chair, or maybe standing or driving, listening to this. You're present. It's the only thing that's guaranteed is the present. It's the only thing you know you have for sure. And it's the place where things happen. It's the place where you own it. Victims are in the past and the future. Victims are often in the past. They're captured by things in their head, things that have already occurred and already things that have gone by, people, relationships, issues, troubles, weaknesses, embarrassments, fears, anxieties, stories of the past, caught there, prisoners. Where? In their minds. Their whole life centers around something that's already happened. Folks, if you want to have a great 2022, get out of the past. I'm not saying totally forget it. I'm saying let's move on from it, because we've got a future. Most people's future is default. What do I mean by the word default? Default is where things naturally go. The default settings on your phone are the settings that you have when you buy the phone. The default is just the basic. That's just same old, same old. This is the hamster on the wheel. This is the rut. That's just a grave with the ends knocked out. We just do the same, the Xerox life, the default future. Here's a great question for you to consider with me this morning. Why is the default future much like the past? I'm going to make a statement here. It's because we create our futures out of our past. When we sit down and decide what we're going to do and where we're going to go and who we're going to talk to and the plans we're going to make and the commitments we're going to make, the goals we're going to set, we often sit down in the present and we go to the past. And that's where we get our information. That's where we get our context. That, my friends, is where we get our thinking. And when I bring my thinking of the past into my present and plan my future out of my past, my future turns out like my past. And that's why it's the same, the same, the same. If you want 2022 to be different, if you want 2022 to be a growth, if you want 2022 to be a progress, a forward progress, you need to understand there's something else on this. There is something called a created future. Now, we don't create like God creates. God created by speaking into existence out of nothing. We're human beings, we're frail, we're dust. We don't have that divine capability. But because we're in the image of God, we have the ability to make things. We have the ability to picture and visualize things in the future and then bring them into reality. In other words, I can take wood and I can build something, or I can whittle it. I can go to school and learn things, and then I can think about a vacation and plan a vacation and go to the vacation. A dog can't do that. A dog is, oh, there's a squirrel. You know, a goose just flies to the south because that's what geese do. I'm not an animal that just works out of response to the environment. I'm a human being created in the image of my creator. Therefore, I have the ability to create. I have the ability to take what I've been given, the substances and the opportunities I have, and create and make something. And things are created twice. They're created first in the mind and the thinking, and then we bring about what we've thought about. That's how we work. Root and fruit, thought, and then this is what occurs. And when we start to see that in your present, if you go back to your past for your thinking, that's the substance that you're going to use to create your future. So your future doesn't change. It's much like the past. If you will go to your mind and dream, if you will go to your mind and think and create a future that is bigger and better and more amazing than your past, and get your substance and your thought from there and bring it back to the present, you will change your path to be towards what you're thinking about. We move towards what we think about. We're transformed by thinking differently. It's why I get up in the morning and start in the scriptures myself. As a Christian, I want to think differently. So that's where I go. I want to go to God's thoughts. I want that to be the thing that I start to form my life around. I see so many people that are caught up in a story of their past, and that's where they get all their thinking. And so they continue in that miserable state of victimhood. And it's all a prison between their ears. And if they could understand that your world is not created as much about your circumstances as it is by what's in your mind, you have the ability as a human being to break out of that and to go to a different place to get your substance to create with. I hope you see this. This will change 2022. This just jot that little slide down right there and think about it, and you've got a different 2022. The donut. We're not talking about Krispy Kreme here. We're not talking about high calorie, high sugar donuts. We're talking about a different kind of donut. And there's the outward circle of the donut. This is from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits. What Mr. Covey says is within our lives, there's this circle, and everything within that circle, we could list and talk about everything that concerns us. Our circle of concern, the people, the situations, the circumstances, all the problems, all the issues, all the responsibilities. Within that circle, we've got a group of things, group of situations that concern us. There is a subcircle within there. And I kind of shade that in, and now we've got the donut. What's in this middle circle? The middle circle is of all these things we're concerned about and all these people and all these situations, some of those things we have influence. I think influence is another word for leadership. I have a certain circle of influence, a certain number of people that are affected by me, a certain number of people and situations that I can do something about. And so I've got 2 circles. One is within the other. And the smaller circle is my circle of influence, my circle where I can be an owner, my circle where I can do something about it, where I can have an influence. If I'm a manager and I've got 10 people on my team, some of those people I have some influence with, they would be in the inner circle. Some of those are not listening to me, not affected by me. COVID, do I need to say more? What can I do about it? What can't I do about it? The economy, what do I need to say about that? There's something in my circle of influence I can do about the economy. There are things outside that I'm concerned about that I can do nothing about. Here's what we want to happen in 2022. We want that circle of influence to grow bigger. So to make something grow bigger, what do you need to do? You need to feed it. How do you feed something like that? With your thoughts. I want my thoughts, for the most part during the day, to be owner thoughts within my circle of influence. Now, what's in the very center of what I have influence over? The very center of what I have influence over is that black dot you're seeing. That's myself. Folks, here's another huge lesson. Quit trying to fix everybody else. Quit trying to fix other people and change other people. You can't do it. It's a vain thing. It's outside your circle of influence. Oh, but Dave, I've changed so many people and influenced so many people. Well, not really. They have chosen to allow you to have an influence in their life. They have chosen to let you lead them and be a part of them. And so that's a good thing when you can do that. But that's their choice. That's not your choice. Your choice needs to be directed to yourself. How do I need to get better? Who do I need to be? How do I need to step up? If you will spend most of your effort and time looking there, that middle circle that influence will start to grow. If you spend your effort and your time outside that middle circle in things that you're concerned about, but can't really do anything about, like other people, then your influence will start to shrink. Nobody wants to be around a control freak. Nobody wants to be around somebody that wants to dictate and bark at them and preach at them and tell them what to do. Frankly, if you want your influence to shrink, just start focusing on trying to make everybody else better. If you want your influence to grow, focus on making yourself better. Interesting concept, the donut. It is an amazing lesson. Here's the question. Where is the most effective place for me to direct my thoughts and efforts? It's within my circle of influence, and at the very center of that is myself. Another great lesson for 2022 to get better. Just take a look at it, jot something down on your paper there, and appreciate that lesson. Another powerful lesson, another transformational, life-changing lesson, the donut. Going to give you a minute to kind of soak it in, kind of dunk that donut, just dunk it right there in your mind and taste it and get it. All right, time for the next one. Based on what we've seen, there's that dot in the middle of the donut. I want to be an owner. I want to step up. I want to be an owner. I want to participate. I want to engage here. What do I need to do? You need to look in the mirror. And that little dot there in the mirror represents you. That's what a mirror is for, is to look at yourself. If you want 2022 to be amazing, profitable, great, move forward, you need to do some self-reflection. And here are the areas that you might want to consider. I've given you 6. Just strap on your seatbelt, have some fun. We're having fun today, remember? Let's have some fun with these 6 pie pieces, these 6 segments. And the first area we're going to look at is physical. Your level of immunity right now, your level of physical fitness, of strength, of health, of well-being, your sleep, your eating habits, your physical movement. We could just go through the list. You know what they are? Look in the mirror. Is there something there that I need to own? Is there something there I need to take responsibility for? Is there something that I need to get accountable for, that I want to get accountable for? I don't have to do anything. Something I want to choose to do, that I'm going to step up to this year. Make the list. Financial. Am I drowning in debt? Have I lost control? Am I worrying and just not paying my bills and out of order and not prioritized? What do you want to do with your finances this year? That's another area as you look in the mirror. What do you see? Don't be in denial. Own it. Be accountable for it. Step up to it. Socially, that'd be your relationships. Your relationship with your Heavenly Father is most important, but right behind that is your spouse. You've got that person that you love, that you've committed to for your life. And then right beneath that, your children, and then your extended family, and then maybe other people in the community that you socialize with, your friends, your social and your relationships and your communication. Look in the mirror. What do you see? You know, turn the light on, brighten it up, get honest. You don't have to beat yourself up. We don't have to get into the blame mode and tear ourselves and attack ourselves. We're just taking an honest look. What do you see? Spiritually, my passion in life is to help people get connected with their Creator through Christ. I mean, that's why I live. That's why I do this job. It's my joy. So spiritually, where are you? Are you a friend of God's? Do you know God? Are you on good terms with Him, or do you need to work on that this year? Emotionally, are you up and down? Kind of bipolar, up and down, frantic, happy one day, sad the next, or maybe just down and depressed and really captured there in some kind of an emotional downtime? Are you an angry person? Do you flip people off? Do you get mad? Do you like a firecracker, or do you seethe with all kinds of resentment and hard feelings emotionally? This might be the year of emotional breakthrough. You're no longer going to be a 2 or 3 year old. You're actually going to grow up and emotionally mature and become emotionally intelligent and start to be reasonable. What do you see when you look in the mirror at your emotional self and finally intellectually? Most people go to high school and maybe college, and then they leave school and they think their intellectual development's over. When's the last time you read a book? When's the last time you read anything other than a tweet or some little clip on social media? Folks, it's scary when we look at the intellectual state of people these days. But remember, in the donut, we're looking at ourselves in the mirror. How are you intellectually challenging yourself? How many things are you reading that stretch you, that are beyond your current level, and you're getting better? Maybe 2022 for you could be a time to grow intellectually. So I offer these 6 areas of life to look at as you look in the mirror and say, which one of those or which 2 of those do I want to focus on this year and improve and increase and grow in and get better? I think it's a healthy thing to do, to take a look in that mirror and be accountable and check up. So that brings us to the change formula. I hope you're following my logic here. We talked about owning things and taking on an ownership mentality, and then looking at the donut and what we have responsibility for and influence over and what we don't. And then knowing in the center, that's ourselves. So we look in the mirror and we see some changes. We feel some taps on the shoulder. We feel some bumps on the road. We feel some pain, and we say, it's time to change. If that's where you're at with me today, and you want 2022 to be better, that means some things are going to change. Well, how do you do that? Well, here's our formula. D times V plus FS has to be greater than R. That means nothing to you right now unless you've seen this before. It's not algebra. It looks algebraic, but it's really not. Let's talk about what this formula means. Let's start with the R. Human beings, because they're human beings, don't like change. Be it ever so humble, there's no place like home. Why? Why do people not want to go to a extended care facility when they're older, a really nice place where the meals are provided, there's entertainment? They would rather stay in a house that's kind of falling apart. It's because it's familiar. We as human beings resist change. We resist the unfamiliar. There's a lot of psychology behind that. We're afraid of things we don't know. We're afraid of the dark. I'd rather be in the misery I know and not go for something better that I don't know. There's all kinds of things you hear. But let's just say for this morning, all of us look in that mirror, see some changes that need to be made, and then start immediate. There's something in us that starts to resist that. So the change formula would say, for change to occur, resistance has to be overcome. Let me say that again. For change to occur, resistance needs to be overcome. I need to lower my resistance. That's one way to make that flow. So what is that resistance? What is that fear? What is that reluctance? Get with a coach, get with a friend, find out what's holding you back from changing and get rid of that or lower it or reduce it. That's one way to get it to work. The other way is to get the left side of the equation to get stronger. So we've got 3 components there. The first is the D, which stands for dissatisfaction. The fact is, a child doesn't start to behave till you create a little bit of discomfort and pain, some dissatisfaction. We change when we're dissatisfied. Hopefully, for the people that are on the call today, when you look in the mirror, you have some dissatisfaction, and that's enough dissatisfaction to start the change process. But it's not good enough just to be dissatisfied. Dissatisfaction can lead to another D, which is called depression, if we don't do something. So What else do we need to have happening here for the change to occur? We need some vision. By the way, this is a great leadership lesson as well. If you lead people and you're trying to help other people change, they need to be dissatisfied with where they are, but they also need to know where they're going. People move away from pain and they move towards something better or pleasure. And if the leaders are not providing vision, people will not typically change because they have a resistance and they don't know where to go. So we need to provide some help in getting dissatisfied with some good coaching and questions, and then provide an alternative place that's better to go. Now, you don't have to just give that to people. You can help create that future with them with some conversation and good questions. That's what coaching is all about, helping people create some dissatisfaction and some vision, because that's the motivator. That's the really that's the inside inspiration or motivation that gets change to occur. I have to have a dissatisfaction and a vision working together. Once you get that dynamic going, the change or the resistance to change will be overcome when you add something, and that's first steps. The only cure for here's a key question, key statement. The only cure for procrastination is one thing: action, doing it. You can talk about it, you can analyze it, you can pay thousands of dollars to a psychiatrist to enumerate over it. But the bottom line is, at the end of the day, if you want a change, you look in that mirror, it's not going to occur until you do something about it. That's the first steps. Dissatisfaction. I don't like where I am. Vision. I see a place I believe I can go to. First steps. This is what I need to do to make that happen. And that all overcomes the resistance to change. Another beautiful lesson for 2022, and that can really revolutionize this year for you. Hope you can use that and appreciate it. I'll give you a minute to jot that down, kind of collect your thoughts. Okay. This is a tree. And this is another lesson for this year. And I'm going to move this along. We could spend the whole hour on this lesson. I've done that before, but be times do equals have. What do you want to have this year? Who do you need to be, and what do you need to do to have that? That's the lesson. I'm going to say it again. What do you want to have in 2022? What do you need to do to have that? And who do you need to be to do what you need to do to have what you want to have? That's the question. I look at it like a tree. The have is the results. So I'm going to plant a tree this year. What do I want? Why am I planting the tree? I want to have apples. So I need to plant an apple tree. That's what I need to do. I need to have a tree that's producing apples. Now I'm filling this in, this is a big lesson within itself, but I'm going to put the rest of the words up here so you see how this works. If I want to change, I need to do something different. That's the action piece. If I'm going to organize those actions, that's going to be based on weekly priorities, quarterly rocks, which I call mini goals, and annual goals. This is just a system. All of that action is based on a being that in an organization is based on principles, values, and mission. This can also be personal, but mission is, what is my purpose? Values is what is most important to me, and principles are those unmoving foundational truths that are in the world. The law of sowing and reaping is a great one. You reap what you sow. That's not an absolute law, but it's pretty steady. The law of gravity is one that never changes. What goes up will come down. But I'm saying there are certain principles in life and in business that are foundational and root. If we build our values or what our priorities and what's important to us based on those principles, And then out of that, we create a mission that we want to accomplish. If we break that all down into goals, annual goals, quarterly rocks, and then weekly priorities, so we know every day what action we're going to take, that whole tree is aligned and will produce the results we want. I hope you see the lesson there. Root, fruit. If I want apples, I need to plant an apple tree. I need to have apple roots and apple actions to create an apple tree that'll produce apples. And the changes that you want this year is the fruit that you want to produce is going to be based on the daily actions that you take. But the actions, how do I determine what I need to do? Well, that's going to be based on my priorities and my goals that are rooted in the mission, values, and principles of my life and my organization. A huge amount of lesson on that one page. If you ask me here for the PowerPoint slides, I'll send those to you and you can have that. I'm going to just mention this very quickly for organizations that may be represented here, that I use something called the EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System, from Gino Wickman. It's based on these components: vision, traction, data, people, issues, and process. It's a whole basic system that I'm using with several organizations successfully. And 2022, you're a business owner, you're a business manager, you want some more information on that. I thought I'd put it in front of you and say, that really interests me, Dave. Send me some more information on the EOS, the traction book. And you can get that book on Amazon. I highly recommend it. Let's end this morning with this story. Maybe you've heard this before. Acres of Diamonds. There was this farmer that got a wild idea in his head. He was looking around and he was kind of poor and he wasn't doing really well. So he just got together whatever money he could scrape together, and he'd heard that there were diamonds in Africa. So he got enough money to get his passage. He went to Africa, spent his life savings looking for diamonds. And when he got to Africa, he never found any, and he committed suicide. Isn't that an uplifting story? Well, there's more to the story, and I understand this is based on a true story. In the meantime, he had sold his farm to this other fella, and somebody had dropped into this other fella that owned this farm that was sold by this farmer, and he noticed that this guy had some rocks, these big goose egg type rocks sitting on his mantle. And he said, "Where did you find those rocks?" He said, "Oh, they're just outside." He says, "You don't understand. Those are the absolute biggest diamonds I've ever seen. They're diamonds in the rough." He said, "Well, heck, the property's full of them. The creek down there, you find them all over the place." Turns out that was one of the largest diamond mines ever discovered, the Kimberley Diamond Mine. I understand that's what it was, but here's the point of the story. The farmer had sold that. He was literally standing on acres of diamonds, and he looked overseas at a want to and left where he was to try to pursue a riches over here when he was standing in the middle of beautiful riches. He just didn't know it and he didn't see it. Friends, here's my point as we bring this to a close today. You are standing in 2022 on acres of diamonds. We all live in America, and though America has its problems right now, we still live in the greatest country in the world. We all have a life. We all have breath. We all have food. We all have a roof over our head. We've been immensely blessed. And we have a huge opportunity this year, but most of us don't see it and most of us don't believe it. We're just going to try to get by and just get through another month, through another week. I'm challenging this group on this call today to stop and to take a look at the farm where you live and see the opportunity. It is everywhere. In the middle of challenge and difficulty, there's all kinds of opportunities. It's just that you don't see them because you're not looking. You're looking like a victim and not like an owner. If you'll own your life that you've been given, if you become a good steward of the life that God's given you, you'll start to see the opportunities. You'll start to see the potential. You'll start to have a created future instead of just living out of your past. And you can progress and have an amazing year this year. I'd love to talk to you about that. Here's my offer today. I'll give you these slides so you can go back through them and look at them and take some more notes. Just email me, I'll send them to you. Second, I've got a list of suggestions for change. I've got a specific table that I put together based on that mirror slide that I'd be glad to send you. It just might stimulate some more thinking if you're interested in that. Just email me, I'll send that out to you same day. And finally, if you want to kick off a coaching session and you're saying, I want to talk to you, Dave, about this specifically, I would love for you to help me a little bit. I'm in a New Year's state of mind. I love, like I said, I have passion to help people. You just put in a request on that email and say, I'd also like to talk to you about some of my thoughts and to get some help. I'll give you a free session. Most people pay $300 to $400 for those. I'd be glad to give you one. Just request it and we'll talk. So thank you for coming today. I hope that this has been a blessing and an encouragement. And I'll be getting a schedule out soon in the newsletter. If you're not signed up for the newsletter, go to the website. It's mentordavebeam.com and sign up for the newsletter. And in that, I notify when these next sessions are coming up. And we should be having one a month. They're going to be toward the end of the month this year. The last Wednesday of every month, we're going to be doing these and sponsored by these chambers. So thank you for coming and have a wonderful day. And I hope this has been a help to you. Bye-bye.